Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan. It got a little darker by the time that Rachel went back from her break, and I wanted to do this video. Plus, I had the previous couple of videos I had to upload. As I'm doing this review, I guess if you want to call it that, it's a game review. It's pretty kind of hard to get your hands on it, sadly, because I really enjoyed this game, as a matter of fact. I didn't get to play it, I watched a walkthrough on YouTube, but we'll get there in a moment. Yeah, I'm still kind of sick, so if I cough and clear my throat throughout this video, forgive me. I know it's gross, I can't help it. It's sickness. Some kind of allergy. I have really bad allergies. I have circles under my eyes and everything, as you can tell from the computer's light on my face. Our bulb above the table is out in our apartment, so I can't have any other light over here, and I can't get to the bedroom yet because Rachel's still working in there. But anyway, there is an old Goosebumps video game from back in the day, before the Goosebumps Horrorland video game came out, and right after, the very next year, you had this game, after the Escape from Horrorland video game that was like more live action mixed with CGI. The one that Spielberg and Jeff Goldblum, yeah, those folks were involved with all those years ago. This is Goosebumps Attack of the Mutant, the 1997 video game starring Jim Belushi from According to Jim as the mutant himself, and he was surprisingly good. I gotta say, man, I love the Horrorland game for PlayStation 2. I think it's a great game. Probably my favorite of all the Goosebumps video games, even compared to the new mobile games from, well, the newest mobile game from 2015, and then you have the Dead of Night, or whatever it is, the newer game for the Switch and all that. That was a kind of a scam, halfway. This game is fantastic. I loved it. I watched a walkthrough of it. Give me just a second. I watched a walkthrough from a particular person. I'm going to bring that up if I can. I'm sorry I'm taking so long, dude. I'm so stupid. I watched a particular walkthrough of the whole game, which is about an hour long, from Wishing Tikal, Tikal. And this is a no commentary player walkthrough or whatever, which I prefer. I don't like people actually talking through the whole game as they play it. That can be fun every once in a while. Markiplier used to be really fun, and that kind of thing. This is a no speaking, no commentary walkthrough. So if you want to watch it, because the game is kind of hard to get, it's hard to run on a newer computer as well. I don't think it'd even work on anything new, like my kind of computer or anything like that. Anyway, it's essentially your main character, and it's kind of half starting out in live action, but the really blurry live action they used to have in video games back in the day, like in Resident Evil, for example. This is a PC game. I don't think it ever came to a console. It's kind of sad that it never came to a console. If they re-released this, I promise you I would buy it. I would, because I really liked this. It's kind of like the Doom video games, the first two old Doom video games, or Wolfenstein, if you're familiar with those. It's kind of like that crossed with Goosebumps, mostly with Attack of the Mutant. Not so much like you don't have a surprise cameo from Slappy and have a cameo over here from this monster, or Jack-o'-lantern over here. You don't have anything like that. It's basically just your main character on a city bus, reads comic books. I don't know if it would be called Skipper. I don't think it is Skipper, but, you know, doesn't call himself Skipper. He doesn't even talk. He gets off the bus because he kind of just stops paying attention to all the bus stops. He gets off out of nowhere and he finds his way to the mutants' headquarters. And so he goes in, it looks just like the one from the comic book. He goes inside and he basically gets trapped. Apparently some of the League of Good Guys, the superheroes that were in the TV show adaptation of the old book, from the book itself, the League of Good Guys are pretty much all here in this place. And the League of Good Guys are kind of sucky, you know? You have the Galloping Gazelle, who, by the way, Adam West comes back to play him. And sadly, our Adam West is dead now. But, it was kind of crazy hearing his voice in this, because I wanted to see him and Jim Belushi show down, dude. Jim Belushi, I love. I love According to Jim. One of my favorite sitcoms of all time. I'm not a big sitcom guy. I love According to Jim. It's way up there with like Three's Company and stuff for me. Great show, just like Boy Meets World and all that. According to Jim reminds me so much of what I am like, and what I would probably be like if I had kids, you know? I hope I do someday, but that's kind of what Jim reminds me of as myself. If you haven't seen According to Jim, you'll love to laugh. You're missing out. It's a great comedy, I'm telling you. So, he's in this playing the mutant. I did not expect Jim Belushi to be good as a villain. He was fantastic. He was so good, and I loved every moment that he was on the screen. Now again, this is kind of the Doom Wolfenstein type of style video game. It's mostly just you walking around, you can't look up, you can't look down. It's kind of first-person-y. And as you walk around, you can only look left and right. If you played the old Doom games, the old Wolfenstein games from back in the day, you know what I'm talking about. It's that kind of thing, which I love. I love shooters like them. I'm a big Doom guy. I love Doom. Not really a big Wolfenstein guy by any means, but I love some Doom. I love some old school Doom. I love new school Doom too, but I love old school Doom the most. That's my stuff, dude. I played it for the first time like 2 or 3 years ago, and I loved it to death. Because this has a lot of things like that. Mostly you wandering around the entire headquarters, which is just filled building to building to building, just enormous building. It's an hour-long game, but for a kind of kids game, it's got its eeriness. It's got its moments where it can be kind of frightening. Not that there's any kind of jump scare type things or anything like that. It's mostly just you wandering around dealing with different supervillains that are teaming up with the mutant himself, who are trying to take over the world with their new process. Whatever their plan is to take over the world, that's how they're going to do it. You're trying to foil them with the League of Good Guys separately. Of course, you're pretty much by yourself. But again, the League of Good Guys kind of suck. They have like one lady that's just she's like the Flash, but she has rollerblades. What? What? Why? Why would you think of that? It would have been cool to have like Elastiboy or whatever his name was that Skipper became at the end of the book. It would have been cool to have something like that in there, but they didn't do that. So, you know, it's the story is not great. The story is not what I come here for. It's kind of like, it's the opposite of how I feel with Goosebumps typically. It's a video game, so I come for the experience. Overall, you know, I liked it a lot, but I have to be honest with you. I talked in a previous video that I uploaded before this that I didn't have any content for this week, and I was wrong, because I literally watched this morning. Like, literally this morning, first thing as soon as I got up. And I dug it. I had a blast watching this. Just for whatever reason, I kind of forgot about it. Like, within a couple hours, I've already forgotten about the whole thing. Well, it wasn't a couple hours, but you know what I mean. I'm sick, forgive me, I have sick brain. But usually I have Michael brain, which is usually the problem. But this was good. I don't know how the functionality of the controls would be if you played this on PC instead of, I'm assuming this was an import that this person was playing for the walkthrough. But it seems to me like the controls are a little bit tricky when it comes to all the tight, zigzaggy hallways and turns, which is also something in the design that I like a lot about the actual headquarters itself. The hallways are always very colorful, very zigzaggy. It feels like a Goosebumps type thing. It is a lot more animated, kind of cheap animation, kind of like that old animated film all of us used to make fun of, including JonTron, called Food Fight. It's kind of that style of animation, but a little bit worse, even more of a precursor to the Food Fight years. It's, if you've seen the newer Bible Man cartoons, it reminds me a lot of that. Like, the mutant looks like Bible Man. But it's, I really, really, really like the game. I do. I'm not trying to trash it too bad. I actually think it's up there for me, with Horrorland. I think there's Horrorland. I think that mobile game was kind of okay as second place, and I think this is third place for me, even though I do like the Escape from Horrorland video game. The Escape from Horrorland, or whatever it was called, the old PC game that came out the year before this came out, had some live-action functions to it, and it was a pretty good freaking game. I think this is better. You know, it came out the year after. It's based on a really popular book in the series. The only, at the time, I believe, the only Goosebumps book that was based on a comic book type thing, or comic book style, or theme, or anything like that. So I think, personally, if you love the book, if you love the TV episode, if you love Adam West being the Galloping Gazelle, you have all that stuff here. It's really loving towards that source material of not only Goosebumps and Stein as a franchise, but it loves the Attack of the Mutant. It's not just a cash grab, in my opinion, even though it's a very short game. I think kids would have a blast with this. I think adults could have a very good nostalgic feel for this because of the Doom feeling and the Wolfenstein feeling kind of behind this. You get weapons in the game, well, really like one weapon and a couple of other accessories, like you can get a pitchfork, you know, and stuff like that. It's interesting. It's a very interesting game. I think some of the villains can be more interesting than the actual, like, heroes. Because like I said, the League of Good Guys just kind of suck, period. It ain't great, but it's pretty good for what it is. I liked it a lot. It ain't wonderful. It's not magnificent by any means, but for Goosebumps, I kind of say I like this. I think Escape from Horrorland had a better plot to it. I think the regular Horrorland, the regular Goosebumps Horrorland game, I think, is easily the best Goosebumps game ever made, personally, for me personally. But I think that story had a more of a fun way of expressing itself. This one is a little bit less in plot versus the excitement for people like myself who love Goosebumps and Doom and all that stuff. Just the blend of all those things really made this more fun to me and more appealing to me. even though it's not amazing. It kind of has sound effects like, I don't know if you remember back in the day, people that were born in the 90s like myself, when you'd have book fairs from like Scholastic and stuff, you would get like games for Mario typing. You know, like they would have like Mario from Mario Brothers teaching you how to type. And if you hit the wrong button or something, it'd make like a squish noise, like stuff like that, you know? That was a gross noise that I just made, not so much the actual sound effect I'm talking about, but I think it was close enough you know what I'm talking about. You remember games like that back in the day, like when you played Cartoon Network video games on the websites and stuff, and Nickelodeon's website games, and even Disney Channel's games back in the day on their actual website? Remember that sound effect? That one squishy noise? That's the kind of sound effects this makes a lot of the time. You know? Like every time you get hit, if you get too close to an enemy, even if they don't make a movement animation at you, if you bumped into them, you get hurt. And you don't have like a health bar or anything. If you just get hit too many times too often, I guess you just die. I don't know. It's very weird health system here. Not really like it matters because it's not a very difficult game. I think it's a game even I could beat. I'm terrible at video games. I never even finished the actual Horrorland game because I sucked at it. I had to watch a walkthrough for the rest of the game. I talked about that in my review for that a long time ago. But anyway, Attack of the Mutant, the 1997 video game. I like it a lot. I think it's a really solid game. If you want to watch a walkthrough, or if you happen to have a copy and somehow can get it to run, or if you can do a mod on something to play that, or if you can, import it somehow, whatever you can do, you should play it or watch it or something, because it's really good and it's a good representation of the actual book that I love tremendously. I'm very surprised that Zach Baby TV has not done a video about this, because it's a pretty cool game. I like it a lot. I wish I could have played this back in the day. I would have loved this when I was a kid. Absolutely would have loved this. This would have been up there with like Star Wars Jedi Academy and stuff for me. Because of my love for Goosebumps, but also because of how much fun it was being like a Doom type of thing. Anyway, what are your thoughts on Attack of the Mutant? Do you love the game? Do you love the book? What do you think? And by the way, like I said, I don't know if I entirely mentioned this. It's more of a love situation towards the book. It is not an adaptation of the book, even though the title says it's an adaptation, sort of, kinda. It's not an adaptation. It's pretty much just you in a Doom type of thing dealing with a mutant. It's not Skipper. I'm pretty sure it's not Skipper, but it's just a comic book kid being stuck in this situation. But it's not an adaptation. It's just kind of its own little story, if you want to call it that. But I had a good time. I had a good time watching it. I think it was well put together. I think the colorful look to it was really something addictive in some weird ways. Even though it was only an hour long as a game, it's pretty cool. I liked it a lot. Anyway, what are your thoughts? Put your thoughts in comments down below on this game. Do you like this more than any of the other Goosebumps games out there? I've been meaning to get around to talking about this. I just never got around to it for whatever reason. I started to a while back when I took a break. I think Lou was the person that told me I should talk about this, or Ryan or somebody told me I should talk about this. And I just never got around to it. I was busy, and I didn't feel like talking about Goosebumps at the time because I was just kind of burnt out for a little bit. But I'm glad that I finally got around to this. It was very surprising. I haven't heard anybody mention how it was so much like Doom, so that was kind of cool. But overall, when it comes to rating the actual game itself, if I had to rate this, I'd put it on probably a 4 out of 5 stars. Excuse me, my throat's getting so dry now. I don't know if you can hear it, but it is. I enjoyed this a lot. I recommend it. I think it's worth your time if you want to watch a walkthrough of it. One of my favorite Goosebumps games out there, easily. It's a pretty great one for what it is, especially if you like Doom. I've talked about that 1,000 times over, but I mean it. If you like Doom, you'll probably like this game. It could very well be your favorite. I don't know. I wish we could play this. I wish this was a way you could get this on like Steam or something. I would get Steam at that point. Anyway, what are your thoughts? Put them down below, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being patient with me. Sorry for the ugly look of this video with the laptop light and stuff. Could have been worse. I could have died. You could have just had me in the dark talking about stuff. Anyway, God bless you. Happy Halloween. Put your thoughts on the book, the episode, all that stuff down below. And again, we got Adam West here. That's kind of cool. I thought that was a pretty nice little twist with all this. I didn't expect him to come back at all. Anyway, it was cool. Nice little cameo. God bless you guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to me ramble, as always, and goodbye.